Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. This is a special emergency bonus episode. I'm interviewing my friend Stephen Havens, and the reason I'm doing that is he just won Season 3 of The Floor, the game show on Fox. He won $250,000. It unfolded a few days ago, and I was like, do you want to do a podcast? And he's like, yes. I think he turned down other media requests because he's like, I will do yours. But anyway, so we talk all about what it was like to win The Floor. It's a crazy show on Fox. If you haven't seen it, there's a big floor, and then people have to... It's like visual trivia. Things pop up on a screen, and everyone has a category, and Stephen breaks it all down. But as his friends, we all knew he was on the show, but he couldn't say whether he won or lost. There were some watch parties along the way. My friend Glenn Gaylord, who's been on the podcast, was like, I think he might have won because they're giving him the winner edit. So anyway, it was just fun to watch and amazing to see him win. So he breaks all of that down in this interview. So before we get to that, though, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by me. I do it. I love it. I'm into it. But if you want to support it, there are more things than ever that you can do. Because you guys, here's where we're at. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes when you have a friend that does a charity bike ride and they're talking about, like, I'm trying to make money for this thing. I'm in this big campaign to do this thing. I'm kind of doing that, but the charity is actually me and my life and my living and like being able to keep my house and like somehow find a sustainable living. That's it. I am my own ride. So anyway, there are some things you can help me do to help me do that. You can go to DennisAnyone.net and leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. I love that. And my Venmo is Dennis-Hensley on Venmo. But also, I've started a Patreon with bonus material once a week. I drop it Sunday midday-ish, and it's fun elements. It's like observation deck questions. I talk about the science of happiness, which I'm really interested in. I give you pics of things that I've seen that I love. I hope that it's all very upbeat and optimistic and kind of real and also kind of fun. I'm having a blast doing it. But once I sent out in my weekly newsletter or my monthly newsletter that I was doing Patreon, a couple of friends reached out to me, Brent Hardinger and Michael Jensen. They're authors, and they also have their own Substack called Brent and Michael Are Going Places. I've had them on the podcast before. They were doing the digital nomad thing. They were traveling all around the world. They sold their house in Seattle like 8 years ago. And they've been doing this and posting and writing about their travel experiences. And they've become kind of experts in this nomading life. And they're both good writers and photographers. And so they're very, like, if you're curious about, like, oh, maybe I want to move somewhere under the current regime, they're interesting. They have interesting insights and all of their stuff. And so they were like, Patreon's great, but you got to get on Substack. So I had a Zoom with them yesterday about how it all works. So long story short, I'm on Substack and Patreon. It's the same amount, $5 a month, and it'll be basically the same content as it's unfolding. So if you want to support the podcast, I'm having a blast doing it. I think the content is good and interesting. And you can also follow on my journey for my charity, my ride. Am I going to make the ride or whatever it is, like the campaign to figure out a sustainable living? I'm telling you, I've had like a few this year of like jobs that I was up for that could have been like a stabilizing force, and I haven't gotten any of them. So maybe it's God's way of saying, I want you to be a Substack person. I don't know. There have been times in my life when I've been in places like this and I was much more freaked out about it. Now I'm a little more bemused, but then I look at the numbers and I get freaked out again. So there's that. Anyway, support the podcast. The other thing you can do is become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of the group of shows, and you can learn about that at dnrstudios.com. I think that's it for the plugs. Here now is my interview with Stephen Havens about his triumph on the Fox game show, The Floor. Joining me now from Portland, Oregon, it's my friend Stephen Havens, who is the champion of this past season, Season 3 of The Floor. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Dennis. Wow, that's such a cool thing to hear.
You won it all. You won it all. I saw you about a month ago here in L.A., you and your husband, Jeb, who is also my good friend and co-creator of You Don't Know My Life. You guys were down here seeing friends. We went and saw Trisha Yearwood. And people were talking to you about The Floor, and you were doing watch parties, and all that time you fucking knew you won. How was it to kind of keep it under your hat?
Well, if you've watched the show, you know that Jeb is my coach. He's the one that gave all the strategies and things like that. He is also the enforcer. He's coach slash enforcer.
So he's more likely to be able to keep it cool and secret than you in terms of personality.
He read the NDA of everything that I signed in the NDA. And each time we would go to a watch party or something, he would brief me. He's like, okay, here's what you can and can't talk about in this watch party. Anything outside of this little box of things for you to talk about, you cannot say.
Right, because you couldn't say like, well, I'm going to be on. You couldn't even say I'm going to be on next week or whatever. Like, could you plan your watch parties in advance, or was the idea like, I'm going to watch it whether I'm on it or not?
Yeah, that was the idea, which was a little bit easier to get by with in the beginning. But as it got towards the finale, people were a little less like, you don't want us to all come watch you lose. Surely you're going to keep going. But no, I couldn't reveal anything that hadn't been shown on TV yet.
Right.
So couldn't technically even say which episodes I was going to be on.
All right. So let's go back. When did you film it?
So The Floor filmed in August of last year. They filmed season 2 and 3 back to back. So each season filmed in just 1 week. It's crazy intense. I actually arrived to the filming thinking I was filming season 2. Right. And ending up, when we got there, a contestant briefing, they're like, by the way, y'all are actually season 3. So all the way back in August. So I had to keep my mouth shut for a long time.
For a long time. And you filmed in Ireland, right?
Yeah, it filmed in Dublin. There's a really big production company there. They had just wrapped filming Master Chef.
Oh, right. So you like that because you are a chef. You are Chef Steven. Were you the only one that had an outfit that went with what you did? Because you wore your chef's thing. But I don't think other people did that. You're like the guy that arrives at the costume party going, wait, they told me it was a costume party. Although you look good in that. It was great. I think it worked.
Well, what you do is you submit like 4 different looks,
right,
and the production team chooses which look. And I slid the chef's coat on there because they told us no costumes. So I slid it in hoping that because I was hoping to get a cooking category for my category.
Yeah.
I was hoping to let it slide. There were a couple of people that had things. So like Scary Terry, if you watch the show, he had bodies of water. His shirt had like fish and stuff like that. But that's about as close as anyone came. Yeah, right. I was never the only one that was in like a costume.
Well, it was great branding for you because you were also a chef. Yeah, it's
and
so
also very intimidating for anyone that was wanting to come after my square on the floor. It was very intimidating. So people were like, "Oh, I guess he's actually a chef."
You guys, you thought of all the psyops and you thought of every angle. So, how did you come to be on the show?
So, as you know, in Los Angeles, going on game shows is just something people just do. Right. I have several friends who've been on several. You know, my good friend Becca, she's won 3 or 4 game shows. I mean, it happens all the time.
Right.
So our good friend Jason Walker, who you also know, was on another Fox show that premiered the previous year called We Are Family.
Okay.
He did really well. I won't spoil it for anybody, but he did really well. So he became close with the producers, and the producers were like, hey, you're a great contestant. Do you have any other contestants that you would recommend for this other show that we're casting for? People that are engaging, that would be good with trivia, that sort of stuff. And he's like, I know someone. So he actually gave them both my name and Jeb's name. And Jeb, as you know, being a game designer,
right,
he was a little worried about whether they would even consider him,
right,
because he's a game designer. So I went for it in the interview process, and I landed on the floor.
Did you meet anybody in person before you got there, or was it all virtual?
All virtual, yeah.
How do you explain how the game works to people that haven't watched it? It's curious because it's kind of like knowledge, but sometimes they'll just show you a picture and you have to say what it is.
Yeah. So the way I explain it is image-based trivia.
Right.
So it's an image-based trivia game. And the concept of the floor is that there are 100 contestants that arrive with an individual category that's their area of expertise, and they have one spot on a floor that has 100 spots. And the goal is to take over the entire floor one spot at a time.
Right.
And so if I wanted to beat you, for example, you would be very good at like celebrities. Like you
right.
know a lot of celebrities by sight and could name them. So I would have to beat you in your category of celebrities, where if you wanted to take my spot, you'd have to beat me in my category of chefs.
TV chefs was your category. When you are chosen and they ask you what your category is, do you have to give them multiple, or are you like, this is it and I'm not budging?
So there are some things that are considered proprietary.
Oh, sure.
For the show that I can't reveal. And so that one's where you might can find it on Reddit, but I'm not supposed to talk about it.
No, fair enough. I appreciate that. How did you feel about your category? Did you feel pretty confident? And then once that was decided, that's what it is. Did you do a lot more research into things that maybe you might not have known in your own category?
Well, ironically, even though I am a chef, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Right.
So I didn't actually know a lot of TV chefs, but I was able to study. And I think probably my baseline was higher than some people, so I didn't have as far to go to learn as much. But then I started, initially I was just learning chefs, but then I was like, well, wait a second. I also need to know like these chef bakers, like from Cupcake Wars. And so I had to go out that direction. Then I'm like, well, wait, what about chef from a long time ago, like on PBS, Julia Child? I need to know all those too. And I was like, wait, what if it's like fake chefs, like Chef from South Park?
Right.
So, yeah, I had about 250 chefs in my study guide that I was trying to memorize.
Rob Lowe is the host. What's he like? What was your experience with him like?
Rob Lowe. So when we were there was some COVID going around.
Yeah.
And so the producers were like, do not touch Rob Lowe. No, we don't want him to come down with COVID because that's going to delay the entire thing.
Right.
So he didn't interact with us as much as what we heard he did with other seasons because he was out there doing his thing, and then he'd go back to the green room because I think he was trying to avoid COVID. So he was exactly like you see him on the show. He's entertaining and very good at hosting the show, but we didn't spend much more time with him than that.
Were you somebody that remembers him from back in the day in those movies? And was he dreaming? Did you have a poster of him on your wall by any chance?
No, I didn't. I had Reba McEntire on my wall.
Wow. All right. This interview's over. I'm kidding. Who doesn't love the Reeves? We all love the Reeves. Now, Jeb, your husband, I understand, created practice rounds for you on the computer, and when people would come over, they would play you. Like, how did that work?
So, Jeb, he's game designer and is constantly dreaming up new games. So what he did was before we got the list of categories, he just made up a bunch of categories, about 20 or 30. And he used PowerPoint or Google Slides and just put images into the Google Slides or the PowerPoint. And then he got a chess timer so that he could time each side.
Right.
And then we would have people over and just to have people battle me and duel me. He would put lights on me. He would record me. Like, he was trying to get me ready for the stress of being on stage. When we went home for 4th of July, my family in Connecticut, there were people that spent hours just dropping in and quizzing me. And even after I'd had like a couple of beers, I would still have to compete with them.
Wow. He was no joke. He was like the Burgess Meredith in Rocky, or like the Karate Kid. Like, he was not messing around.
Yeah, he was very intense. And he specifically, another thing that was funny that he was able to predict. So there are some mechanics of the show that are a little bit wonky that they tried to fix for the second and third season.
Right.
And he knew they were going to do that. He said, the best strategy in the show is to always go back to the floor, always go back to the floor. But that doesn't make for great TV. So they're going to dangle some sort of carrot to you to get you to try and stay and play. He's like, it doesn't matter what that carrot is. Do not take it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it doesn't matter. They're just trying to get you to stay on the floor. Your best strategy is always go back to the floor. So they did. They dangled the time boost. And Jeb's like, do not do it. Go back to the floor.
Right.
Always.
So when you get two contestants end up there. They go head to head. The winner stays up there, and the winner has the option of doing another challenge with another contestant or going back to the floor. And if you go back to the floor, you're safe. You're not going to get eliminated if you're on the floor. So the idea is to just bide your time. You ended up kind of tucked in a corner. I felt like the geography helped you too. Is that right?
So one of the things, I guess I could talk about this. There is an advantage to being on a corner or on a side piece,
right?
Because you can be attacked from one side,
right?
So the outside edge of the floor is randomized. So they pick names out of a hat and place you on the outside edge randomly, so that there's no. It's as fair as it can be.
Right, it's as fair as it can be, because there is. It feels like having people on only 3 sides of you or 2 sides of you is better. Yeah.
So then everyone else and the rest of the floor, they play strategically, because you don't want like 2 sports people beside each other or 2 food categories beside each other. So they place everyone else. So going to the show, Jeb's coaching to me was winning this show is 1/3 knowledge. You've got to have the knowledge, so study. 1/3 preparation. That's why I quizzed you so much. And 1/3 luck. And luckily, I was in a spot that was close to a corner. And then when it came the opportunity for someone to take over airport codes, that very big corner piece, I luckily was the first person randomized that was touching it because we were all going after airport codes.
Yeah,
I just was the first one that got randomized. So, there was a good deal of luck involved,
right?
For sure.
But you also understood what you should do if you get the opportunity.
Oh yeah.
You and Jeb took a trip around the world. You quit your jobs like 2017, I think, and went for like a year and a half. And so when you got both airport codes and international foods, I was like, damn, this is some sweetness.
Yeah, well, airport codes especially was a bittersweet one because there were a couple of international airports that I didn't get, and it will haunt me forever.
Yeah.
But then and I haven't been reading Reddit or the comments because I know better.
Yeah.
But Jeb has been reading it, and there is a little bit of scuttlebutt about the unfairness of the chef getting the tiebreaker being international foods.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is everyone knew from the beginning it was going to be international foods. So we all had the same opportunity to study.
Right.
It was just lucky for me that it was international foods. And so there was a contingent that figured that out around episode 9, that they were like, wait a second, the tiebreaker is international foods. If Chef Steven is in the final duel, he's got a leg up automatically.
Yeah, we got to get rid of him then.
We got to get rid of him. So there was a contingent between episodes 9, 10, and 11 that were trying to get me out.
Right.
It didn't work, thankfully, but they tried.
There were times when you were playing and it was the heat of the moment, and I felt like you were saying something to yourself, or there was like almost a meditative quality. You were very much like the pommel horse guy a little bit from the Olympics. What were you doing? What was that about?
That was from Jeb teaching me as well.
Yeah.
It was a breathing exercise because when you actually get up there, it takes about 10 seconds for the timer to even start counting down from 3.
Right.
And he's like, that's when your heart will start racing. You'll be all starting to get nervous. He's like, so just 3 quick deep breaths and then close your eyes, and whatever category you're in, start repeating those the category in your head. So, for example, like when I did TV chefs, as soon as I closed my eyes, I started Anne Burrell, Martha Stewart, just like naming chefs in my head to get your head in that
right.
space.
So those words, because you could look at it and know it, and the word, you can't figure out the word. Your mouth won't go Martha. That was kind of what you were doing when you were moving your lips. That's
your
very
head
interesting.
In the space of whatever your category was that you were competing in. Yeah.
So you gave a big shout out to your coach at the end after you won, and justifiably so. But Jeb was not there with you, right? So how were you able to communicate? What were you able to share with him? The time difference? What was it like being there without him?
Well, it was thankfully he wasn't there because he would have been a distraction because I was just studying the whole time. All of the strategy stuff that he sent me there with, we came up with beforehand.
Right.
And then I would talk to him a little bit at night and get his feedback. But again, I couldn't share stuff with him because of the NDA.
Right.
So there was not a lot that he could do for me in the moment.
Right.
Except encourage me and remind me to always go back to the floor.
Yeah, and hang in there. Yeah.
So it was good to talk to him. Yeah. And he would also duel me a couple of times over the phone.
You're like, I love you, honey. Always go back to the floor. I can't wait to hold you. Always go back to the floor. Like, it sounds like, what do you want for dinner? Always go back to the floor. Like, it felt like he knew that was what you do, and he's right. Did you know other people's categories? When did you find those out? When you found out, like, okay, these are all the categories that people are going to be playing?
Another proprietary thing. I can tell you don't really know until you get there.
Okay.
You don't really know until you get there.
But
you have an idea about a week before. You get a general idea, but then literally people arrived to the filming and didn't know their category yet.
Wow. So when you finish a day of taping and you go back to your hotel or whatever, are you able to sort of study, these are the ones that are still in play? Are you able to keep working while you're there?
Oh, yeah. And even between episodes. So day 1 and 2, we filmed 2 episodes a day.
Yeah.
3 and 4, we filmed 3 episodes a day. And day 5, we filmed 2. So in between episodes, you can also study. You don't have much time.
Yeah.
But you've got an hour and a half. And during that time, you also have to go through hair and makeup, which was another benefit for me. It took very little time for me to get through hair and makeup.
Right.
No hair. So I got plenty of study time. But I didn't. I would just go back to the room and study based on whatever was around me, whatever I thought might come near me. Because in the beginning, something that's way on the other side of the floor, there's no use studying it because it's never going to make it to you. Yeah. But then about halfway through, as pieces of floor start to mush together, then you're like, okay, there's a possibility I might need to start studying these other categories. So.
Yeah. The show unfolds over 10 weeks as it airs, or however many weeks. Are you starting to get recognized on the street when you're walking around? And do people go, wait, that's the guy from the floor?
I did. This sounds so silly, but I did have my first recognition. It was the very next day. I was teaching a class down in Eugene and had spent the night overnight down in Eugene so I could teach down there. And I get on the elevator to go down and get my coffee. I look like death warmed over because I'm exhausted. And I look up and this lady's just staring at me in the elevator. I'm like, ugh. She's like, you look just like somebody I just watched on TV. I'm like, was it the floor? She's like, yes. Oh my God, it is you. I'm like, yes, it was me. I just need coffee right now though.
So this was after the first episode aired?
After the finale.
After the finale. So that was your first star sighting.
That was my first one.
Have you had any crushes, people hitting you up online? Because you look really sexy on the show. The lighting was good on you. It was good. It was all good.
There have been quite a few DMs that have been slid into for sure.
That's interesting. I like it.
And what I can't figure out is how I know how they're finding me on Instagram, but I don't know how they're finding me on all other sorts of apps because I don't know.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. So your friend Andrew, who is another contestant on the show, I got to meet him when you were here. Very sweet guy. Mm-hmm. You guys ended up the final. Would you say he was the one you got to know the most on the show, or were there other ones that were you were pretty good friends with too?
There were others that I was pretty good friends with as well. I've gotten closer to him after the show. Right. He's such a nice guy. He wasn't in my study group, so it was mostly my study group that I got closer to. But he is just a fantastic guy, just the kindest person. If I had to lose to someone, I was completely fine losing to Andrew. He's just that sort of amazing, salt of the earth, just kind, gentle human being. Love him to death. So
the study groups, were they official or were they informal?
No,
just like informal. Just like this is.
It happened. It happened on day one, just like based on where you were sitting. Your group would start studying together, and then we just always went back to that spot. So, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, in my study group was a contestant from The Amazing Race.
Oh, interesting.
Finally, from The Amazing Race, which is, I can say this, that's the big goal. Like, we're hoping to somehow parlay this win into a chance to get on The Amazing Race, because that's Jeb and my dream. We would love to be on The Amazing Race.
You guys would be amazing. You're made for it. That's the thing.
If you know anybody that can get us on.
Well, that's the problem. If you know somebody, sometimes you get disqualified. So I had that heartbreak happen on the $20,000 pyramid, $20,000 or $100,000. I was all ready to go on. I was there at the taping, and the executive producer, who I had not met, walked in, and I had met him before. I'd gone on a date with him. No. Yeah, and he was like, I was out. And
that's like one of your favorite shows.
It was. I mean, the scar will never heal. The scar will never heal. You know, Jeb and I first bonded over our love of pyramid, so there's that.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, were you like, I'm on this game show in Ireland? Like, did it ever feel really surreal that you were where you were?
It felt surreal after I made it to Thursday.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, there's like about a 50-50 chance you're going to go home in the first couple of days.
Yeah.
But then once I got all the way to episode like 9 and 10, that's when, and I think for several of us, and that's why they started gunning for me, several of us were like, wow, I can see a path to victory now. And that's when it got surreal. Is like, before that, you're like, it might happen, it might not. But
it's a lark. It's one out of 100 is going to win this. Like,
but then when it's like down to 1 out of 20, you're like, that's not bad odds.
Yeah.
And some of the categories that I was really worried about had all been removed. They'd all gotten taken off the floor.
Yeah.
So the categories that were left, with one or two exceptions, I felt really good about all of them. So there weren't any sports categories left. Thank God.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't any like I could never have done the Real Housewives when that one I would have lost immediately.
Yeah.
So I was feeling really good. And that's when it became a little surreal that, wow, this actually might happen.
This actually might happen. How many actual head-to-heads did you end up doing? Because you could go entire episodes without doing one, right?
Yeah, and I did. So I did a total of 6, I believe. And there were 6 contestants that did more than me, but I did as many or the same as 93 contestants.
Okay, so, pretty good. What were they? Airport codes? Yeah, celebrity chefs, international foods.
Yes, international foods, cosplay, boy bands. Yeah, 5. Okay, 5.
Boy bands. I love that you got boy bands. And cosplay was the one you lost to Andrew. Because I went right along with you like, oh, this is easy. Got it. And then it's all these rando cosplay people that you've never heard of if you're not like hardcore into it. And
this is easy until it's not.
Yeah. Were there things that you did that were part of your strategy that were more just in the way you interacted with people and the way you kept to yourself or didn't? Or were you doing that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So the whole point in wearing the chef's coat was part of that. It's meant to be an intimidation tactic.
Interesting.
And then there was another person who pretended to be a chef, which is where the now famous she's not a sushi chef came from, because she had told everyone she was a sushi chef, and then when it came up, the first thing that comes up is edamame, and she doesn't know what edamame is. We're like, she's not a sushi chef.
Right.
And then once I inherited boy bands, whenever I was in the green room, I would walk around singing like NSYNC songs or Backstreet Boys songs or something, just trying to be a little intimidating. But you don't want to take it too far, because that's what happened with David with Jeopardy! Is at the end of the show, once we got to meet him outside of the show at the bar, once everything was over, he's such a nice guy, David, the Jeopardy guy.
Yeah, he had won Jeopardy Grand. He was like a big Jeopardy 19 times.
19 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the show, though, he was so aggressive and very like, you better not cut all this sort of stuff. And so that he took it too far, and people were like, oh no, now we're definitely coming after you.
And who took him out? Andrew took him out, right?
Andrew took him out, yeah.
Yes, he got Jeopardy out of your way.
Yeah,
so,
and I was feeling good about it because I knew because it was him, me, and Andrew, and he challenged Andrew in endangered species, and I'm like, okay, I know I can beat. I could beat David in cosplay because he's a smart guy, but anything with pop culture, he was going to lose. So I'm like, I think I can beat him in cosplay. I know I can beat him at boy bands, and I know I can beat him in international food. So when it was down to the final 3, I'm like, I'm good. I can do this.
Right. So, but the Jeopardy thing probably seems really intimidating, and he sounds like he played it up a little bit too.
Played it up a lot. Yeah. Too much, because it made people want to go after him. They
gun after him. Yeah. We'll show you, mister. Did Andrew win? Is there a second prize? Was there a second prize?
No.
Really? No. Wow. Wow.
You win $20,000 if you have the most floor at the end of an episode.
Okay.
So Brian, if you remember, he won $110,000.
Wow.
Yeah, he won a good bit. He's the one that was in the movie Clerks.
Yeah.
He won a great bit. There were 2 contestants that won $40,000, but you had to be holding the space at the end of the
thing. And that was just kind of like the timing of it and where you were. You know, back in the day with game shows, it felt like if somebody was known for being on another show, you wouldn't put them on this show. And all of that has changed. You've got Mike White on The Amazing Race, and then people doing this show and that show. And it feels like the casting is sort of, I don't know. They're less like stay in our lane. They're more like, oh, we'll put that person and people know them. You can be famous and be like a regular person on Survivor at the same time. Yeah.
I think it has to do with followers and viewership, because my followers, since I've been on this show, have quadrupled. So I think it has to do with if someone was on another show and they did well and have a big followership, then when they go on a different show, they're just bringing all those followers.
Right. They think that might help them get more ratings. What's your main, what are your apps that you're on? Obviously Instagram, Facebook?
Instagram.
Instagram and Facebook.
Instagram.
Yeah. You said at the end that one of your dreams is to open a food court. Why not? Malls are dead, but just do the food court. No, but a food truck. That sounds cool. Is that something you're still thinking about? And
What's really great is up here in Portland, as you remember, you've been here.
Yeah.
We actually do have food courts. They're food trucks that group together into
park. Yeah.
It'll be like a bar in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's like modern day food courts. They're fantastic. But yeah, I would love to be able to open a food truck. The network has up to 6 months to pay me.
Yeah.
So we'll see once that happens.
6 months from when it airs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you haven't got the cash yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so. Do you ever kind of forget and then remember?
It's been possible to forget and remember right now
because it's so present.
And every other week we were doing like a large watch party with 20 or 30 friends, and it's impossible to forget. And right now, since last week, it's just been it's been a lot going on. So,
well, thank you for doing this media hit. I know you've probably been. Have you been asked to do other outlets?
Yeah. So I did several local TV outlets. Sure. And then they did a Fox, the main Fox, whatever that would be, did a Zoom interview with me and then released it to all of Fox channels. So I've had people like from Montana. A friend from Montana was like, "I just saw you on the news." I'm like, "On Fox?" And then because I'm a man of a certain age, I remember when TV Guide, everyone read TV Guide. Right?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
So TV Guide interviewed me, and I was like, "Oh, this is so exciting! I'm getting interviewed by TV Guide."
That's amazing. I used to write for them back in the day when they were. I think they're still in print, but then they're online, like magazines. Anyway, it's another sad story. Our friend Glenn Gaylord watches a lot of these shows, and I remember him telling me early on, they're giving Steven the winner edit. Which meant that they would cut to you at different times. And it was just a way of like, this guy's important in the show or whatever. When Glenn said that to you, what did you think? Or were you just like, yeah, that's an interesting theory? Well, it was interesting to hear someone else confirm what I felt. Yes. But when it's you that's being featured, I was just like, it's just my ego. It seems like they're just showing me a lot because I think I'm awesome. Right. But then someone out of the blue that actually kind of knows the business a little bit say they're giving me the winner edit. I'm like, man, I thought so too. Yeah, I felt like I was feeling that. I felt it in my I got a little tingle sometimes when they would show. Also, it made me wonder if maybe because I promised Jeb I wasn't going to do a lot of smack talk, and when I got back from Dublin, I'm like, honey, I promise I didn't breathe a word. The whole time I was on the floor, I kept my mouth shut. And then episode after episode after episode, they catch me saying something sassy like, she's not a sushi chef or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, I guess I didn't keep my mouth shut enough. Maybe everybody else did a better job of keeping their mouth shut on the floor. I guess I talked more shit than I thought. But they also have you mic'd, and it's not like everyone on the floor can hear it. You're just saying it to a couple of other people. I don't know. Or even just yourself. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it I was just talking to myself. Do they tell you guys to, just say little things? They do. So this is probably obvious for anybody that knows anything about TV. It's not being filmed real time when they call you and you just walk right up there. Yeah. There's about a 10-minute lag before you actually get up there with Rob. Yeah. Because they got to touch up your makeup and all that sort of stuff. So during that little 5, 6, 7 minutes, we all would huddle around, and they definitely encouraged us to talk strategy. Yeah. They meant talk smack, but they said talk strategy. I've been on a couple of game shows, but the craziest one was when I was a booster for my friend that was on Deal or No Deal. And the producer, you felt like if you weren't crazy energetic, they were going to kill her children. You felt like she had so much on the line. Like, you're going to be excited and jump around. Like, they want this kind of craziness. What was your interaction like with the producers on that show? They didn't want that. They wanted more of the strategy talk. They wanted more of the who do you think's going to win. They wanted more of that kind of stuff. The high energy stuff, not as much. Yeah, it was more. And they really the edit this season. This happened more, and maybe it's because they were pushing us to do that. This season, I picked up a lot more strategy in the conversation than I had picked up in previous seasons. So maybe that's why they were angling it that way, or maybe our group was just a strategic group. Yeah. What did you learn from watching the previous seasons? I assume you went back. I can't imagine Jed would let you not do that. And then you probably wanted to anyway. Yeah, the saying the words in my head before I started. That was a big one.
learned. The don't get seduced by the 20,000 at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Because there were people who were like, I might as well go for the 20,000 because at least that's 20,000, and they went home, you know, because they were trying to get that. So it was.
So in other words, they would stay and do another head-to-head, thinking, "Oh, that'll be the end of the show. I'll get the 20,000." But it's one that they might not be able to win, and then they paid the prize. Interesting.
That happened a couple of times.
Yeah.
So decide: are you there for the 20,000 possibly, or are you there for 250,000? So from the get-go, I was there for 250.
Yeah, you're not there to make friends, but you kind of were. You kind of did.
I did. That's what I was there for. It was just this great, awesome side benefit. There was a situation. There was if it had happened that at the end of the night, I could take on something like country music. Did you see the female country artist?
No.
I could have nailed that one.
Yeah.
And they didn't know who, like Martina McBride, Sarah Evans, like all of these awesome country female singers, and neither of the contestants knew. I would have nailed it. So he's like, if you're up against something that you know you can win, then go for the
20
but only
grand.
if you are willing to bet 250 on 20.
Yeah. Don't get greedy.
Because then that opens you up for more people to come after you, because they want the next night, they want the biggest piece of the floor. So more people are going to come after you too.
Yeah. What was fun about it? What part was the most fun?
Oh, geez. I loved the competing. I'm just a person, so I love that. I have to say that reliving it now has been the most fun.
Yeah,
because it was stressful while it was happening. You're filming all the time. It's high energy. It was stressful. And now getting to relive it and to see it all sort of come together has just been, and getting to do it with like 20 or 30 screaming queens. And they don't hold back. The gays don't hold back. Everybody doesn't know something. They're like, why didn't you know Cancun?
Yeah. I'm going on a weird sidebar, but I swear it's related. When the first Star Wars movie came out from 2015, the first J.J. Abrams one, right? I went to a Q&A of it, and it was 2015. It was the rise of Trump had started happening, and everyone was freaked out, and things had gotten really ugly in the culture. And I remember thinking, wow, J.J. Abrams has just given us all such a gift, like something fun, something to be excited about, something to distract us, something that is optimistic and a winner and happy and good news, some good fucking news, right? Yeah. Did you feel like this show was some good effing news in a time when people could use a fun watch party to go to?
I think so, especially for our Portland group, because now that it's over, everyone's like, we have to figure out some other way of doing this every other week, getting together and just having pizza and yelling at a TV and having fun together. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I think it was a nice feel good thing for everybody that was involved here in our local. Yeah.
What was the lowest point you had, or the most like nervous, or like the point where you're like where it felt a little more intense or a little more of a negative vibe?
So the first thing that I thought of, the lowest point was, I don't know how to exactly phrase that. I felt really bad about sending Andrew home.
Yeah. I
really felt like, gosh, Andrew was an incredible player. It's almost like survivor's guilt, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Just that sense of like, out of everybody that I beat, he was the one that I was like, that just hurt a little bit, you know? And it's necessary, because if you want to win, everybody has to go home at some point.
Well, also, you could tell that you had a sweet friendship with him. You could tell, and he's just sweet. I've met him, and his story is really good, and all that stuff. How did you tell Jeb that you won, or could you tell your spouse? What are the rules?
Well, you could tell your spouse. You could tell anyone you wanted to, as long as it didn't get back to the network.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell somebody, you're banking your NDA on that person not telling.
Right. It's a huge risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Because even if you don't win any money, you sign an NDA that says if something you say gets back, they could sue you.
Right.
So, and then winning money, I mean, they would keep your money from you. So, of course, I told Jeb, because I knew he wasn't going to tell anyone.
Right.
So, what's funny is the time difference. By the time we were finished filming the finale, it was late. It was like maybe 8 o'clock or something over there. And the finale went on for longer than what it was supposed to. So he was expecting my call, but he was at a pool party. And all he had on was his Speedo.
Right.
And so I'm calling him and calling him and calling him. And he's not.
So he doesn't have his phone on him because he's just wearing a Speedo.
Pool party. And so a good hour later, I'm still like, where is my husband? So he finally calls me back, and I get to tell him. But I had to go a good hour of me just like pulling my hair out, like wanted to tell him. And
and he's crawling around. I just love the split screen of that. How did you say it when you got him on the phone? I did it. I won. Do you remember what you said?
So I remember.
Did you say we did it?
Yeah, I absolutely did because I could never have done it without him. So I had this a gentleman's agreement with him before we went over. I said, Jeb, if we win, we will use this money smartly, but I want your promise that we will take 10% of the winnings and do something absolutely insane. He's like, okay, I promise. I'm like, okay, so if I win $250,000 over there, we're going to take $25,000 to do something absolutely insane. So when he picked up, I'm like, we're taking $25,000 and going to Singapore.
Wow, that was the first thing you said?
Yep.
Amazing. Why Singapore?
Because it's so expensive. When we did our big travel, we didn't go to Singapore. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is the perfect place to like blow some money is to go to Singapore.
Yeah, I love those buildings from.
Changed our mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those buildings from Crazy Rich Asians. The way they look on the skyline, like that. I get that.
It's expensive, man.
Yeah, it is expensive. Wow, what a trip! What's something random that came out of this that you wouldn't have thought? Have you heard from people that you didn't know about? Do you have modeling gigs? Are you? Is there OnlyFans people breathing down your neck for collabs?
I made a really good friend in Liz, who her category was agriculture. Okay. She is a lawyer, married, lives in Louisiana, and is now pregnant with a baby. Right. And she and I have become Swiftie besties.
Swiftie besties. You love Taylor.
Swiftie besties. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So she sent me a Taylor Swift apron that's the red outfit. So when I put it on, it looks like I have on the red outfit from the Reputation part of the Eras tour.
Love it.
And then a cutting board that says, I can still make this whole place simmer.
Right. I love it. A reference to the song Bejeweled. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're Taylor Swift besties. But yeah, just little friendships like that were completely unexpected and that I just cherish.
I love it. It's the people. You win the show. What happens right after? Do you go to a bar? Do you go back to your hotel?
What happened right after was, if you saw, they shot that cannon off and it scared the hell out of me.
Yes.
You see me? I jumped. Yeah. And then before they sent me down onto the floor, they're like, okay, we're going to do this cannon. All this glitter is going to come out and it's slippery. Don't fall. And don't grab Rob if you fall. Yeah. Go down. If you fall, go down. But whatever you do, don't grab Rob. Gotcha. I like it. All right. But like twice I almost fell because it was very slippery. Yeah. And so they do the shots of me with the glitter and everything. And then the cameras pull back. The lights all come on. And then everyone leaves. Like I'm literally standing on the floor by myself and there's no one there. And I'm like, where do I go? Yeah. They're done with you. For like 20 minutes. They literally were like, we're done with you. For like 20 minutes, I'm just sitting there like, I don't have my phone because it's in the green room because we couldn't bring electronics. Sure. I don't know how to get back to the green room from here because I'm in some weird... Hello? They just kind of abandon you on the floor. Maybe that's the real thing. You are stuck there on the floor. That is your fate. And then you got out. Yeah, so I eventually just went randomly walking around and somebody found me and was like, oh, we got to take you for an interview. But yeah, for a good half hour, I was just on my own. I don't know where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do. It's like, and there's a award show where there's always somebody that kind of guides you to the press room or whatever. You were abandoned by the trophy girl and you're just there 100%. With your basking in your moment. We're going to wrap it up soon. I have my pockets with glitter. I picked up like wads of glitter and stuff in my pocket so I could bring it home. I love it. I want a piece of that glitter. I want a piece of your glitter to put on my little shelf of knick-knacky things. That's amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I have one more question for you, but is there anything you want to mention or plug or your Instagram or your chef stuff or anything that you want to let people know about? I just, so my Instagram is chefsteveneats.com or at chefsteveneats, and that's also my website. I've already been getting lots of people that have found me through there and are trying to schedule me for different catering things and stuff. So yeah, find me through there. It is my part-time gig, so if you do find me and it takes me a little while to get back to you, I'm also a full-time college professor, so it might take me a little bit to get back to you, but I promise I'll get back to you. But yeah, it's been just the most incredible experience, and it's been fun sharing it with all of my peeps and all of my floor people. We call ourselves this is going to sound Floor-mily. Like a family, but on the floor, the Floor-mily.
I'm so glad you didn't open with that. I would have. That's so good. The Floor-mily. Are the Floor-mily the people that were on the floor or people that watched you on the floor? Yeah. Could I be part of the Floor-mily?
Well, if you go onto the floor, you can.
Okay, so it's for the people that are on the floor. Okay, it's not for the people that come to the watch parties. That's different. Right. Okay, that's something else. That's another word that doesn't roll off the tongue.
It does.
Yeah, I have two questions. One you just kind of hinted at, but like, what has this meant to you in your life? What kind of boost does it give you in terms of like, I don't know, joy, enthusiasm, like a thing like, oh, really cool things can happen.
It's mostly been joy for me. It's been such a fun experience and something completely asinine and unreal that actually happened though.
Yeah.
Like it's very similar to the big trip that Jeb went on. That's like, I know 5 years from now, I'm going to look back on this and be like, that seems like something out of something fiction, you know?
Yeah.
But it has already been a boost to my catering business. So, I mean, that's amazing.
Amazing.
That's not why I did it. I did it for a great experience, and I'm very happy about the win. Jeb and I are hoping to be able to use some of the money to support some up and coming artists that we've got our eye on, that we want to help fund some of their artwork. And we've got a couple of charities that we're going to help out, especially right now. Being gay and out in the South right now is not a great place to be.
And so that's your background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Alabama. So we're supporting some local Alabama charities, with funds to help queer youth that are struggling in these bad areas right now. So lots of things like that it's going to enable. But overall, for me, it's just been such an amazing experience to get to do it.
At the end, you mentioned Jeb, your husband. Was that the first time that it was spoken that you were gay officially? Or what did it come up earlier?
It came up almost every time I was on stage. I talked to Rob. I talked about my
husband. Right?
But they edited it in such a way. Oh yeah, because I don't ever shut up about Jeb.
Well, they talked about your coach. You talked about your coach a lot, but I was trying to remember if did we connect the dots yet? Yeah.
So I was a little concerned that they were straight washing me.
Yeah.
The way they revealed it at the end made it work. That it was such a huge payoff for it to be this like, your coach is your husband. That's so cool. Oh, and he inspires and motivates me. And like, it just was a really special moment for me for that to happen like that. So I actually ended up being very thankful that they did it the way that they did it. But yeah, I talked about him nonstop.
Yeah. I love when you said, I did this. I did it. Like I appreciated that. It was a little Timmy Chalamet at the SAG Awards, if I'm being honest. Like, yeah. Little Timmy Chalamet. Own it. Own it. You did it. Here's my final question.
I was proud of myself.
You should be. You on the floor. My 1 second for that day on my video, I took a few seconds, but that shot of you standing on the floor where the whole floor envelops you in like yellow. That's a solid shot. Yeah. When I interview people that make movies and things like that, I often ask them, what's a moment from that experience you're going to remember in 30 years? Like a moment that you're like, I'll never forget that thing. And I'm sure winning is a big moment, but is there another moment from that whole experience that you're like, I'm never going to forget this?
The moment I knew I was going to the final duel.
Yeah.
Like as soon as he picked Andrew and I knew I was going to the final duel, I knew I had it at that point. And that moment of clarity helped me be so calm during that final duel, and it just was like, oh, I have this. I got this. I don't have to be nervous. I got this. And
everything's falling into place. Yeah.
It was something like, even now it gives me chills. Just that moment, those moments in life where you just have those moments of clarity, and that was one of them where I'm like, this is all good. I got this. I don't even have to worry. It's happening exactly like I needed it to.
So did you know when he picked Andrew that Andrew was going to prevail and that was going to be you and Andrew in the final? Or are you talking about the moment after Andrew won that duel?
So the moment he picked Andrew, because I knew at that point I could win.
Right.
I knew I could win. Because I knew that I would be playing.
You were going to be in the final no matter what. You were either going to be. Yes. You knew you were in the final. You didn't know. Yeah, and you knew both of those categories. I love that. Stephen, this was great. Thank you for sharing all of your memories and thoughts about this incredible thing that you did. I was so proud of you. You crushed it, and Jeb crushed it. Stay on the floor. Yeah. Thanks again to Stephen Havens. I think you can watch The Floor on Fox.com and see the magic happen in real life. It was so exciting to watch it from my home. And just the way it built. And I had actually met Andrew, so I knew who he was. And Stephen went around, and then Andrew went around, and then it was the final. It was just, it was so good. So good. All right, so this happened. I'm going to use this so this happened to give a shout-out to a few folks that are coming up, things that are coming up. But also, I want to mention another past guest of Dennis Anyone, Tim Murphy, the author of the book Speech Team, and also another book that I love, Correspondence, and Christodora. Anyway, he is on Substack, and we've kind of helped each other out, like trying to, if somebody he's interested in interviewing, maybe I know them, I can get to them, and he's given me some tips about Substack, and he wrote a very nice little plug at the beginning of his recent Substack. His Substack is called The Caftan Chronicles, and he interviews gays of a certain age just about their lives and their work and what it means to be the age they are, and he's a great interviewer and a great writer, and I love his novels, and he talked to me very honestly about how his Substack works, and so did my friends Michael and Brent, and I'm kind of invigorated by it. So we'll see how that goes. I feel like the universe keeps closing other doors, it's like laughing around me. So anyway, I'm going to try to keep being this guy, for better or worse. The other people I want to mention is there's an author that's been on my podcast before named Blair Fell. He wrote a wonderful book called A Sign for Home a few years ago. I had him on the podcast. His new book is called Disco Witches of Fire Island, and I'm reading it now, and it's delightful and sexy and interesting. And he is going to be at Book Soup on May 15th at 7 p.m. in conversation with me. I'm going to be doing the moderating, and I'm excited about that. So if you're in LA, come to Book Soup Thursday, May 15th at 7 and get Disco Witches of Fire Island wherever you are. It's a fun book. And I love doing moderating type stuff, so I'm going to try to do more of that. So stay tuned on that front. I love that kind of stuff. And there's so much out there of people that aren't that good at it. So I'm going to try to be an anecdote for that, because we've all sat through those panels where I'm like, oh man, they're fumbling with the mics and the water and they don't know. Anyway, it's a show, people. Pick it up. Anyway, and finally, you know how people have book clubs, movie clubs? I got to do an interview yesterday with a super talented person, and I'm kind of in awe of still to this day. Her name is Leah McKendrick. I talked about her movie Scrambled at the year-end wrap-up episodes with Glenn Gaylord and Drew Droege. I raved about Scrambled. It's on Hulu right now. So I sometimes see Leah at dance class, and I ran into her again, and I said, would you ever want to do a podcast? I would love to talk to you about how you pulled that off, because she wrote and directed it, and she stars in it, and it's a very personal story, and she got Lionsgate behind it, and it got into theaters, and it's so good. I went back and watched it again a second time, and the comedy lands. It's full of ideas. The first time I watched it, I was with my female roommate and her older mother, who's in her 80s. And there's some pretty provocative sex scenes in it, so a few times I was like, ooh, this is fun to watch with your friend's mom. But at the end, her mom loved it. We all loved it. It's very, very heartfelt, and you feel for this character's journey. And it's basically a story about a woman who decides to freeze her eggs. And because all of her friends already are married and have babies, everything's fallen into place for everybody else. And she feels like, you know, a game of musical chairs where she's the one left without a chair. And she decides to do this thing to try to, you know, freeze her eggs and look toward the future. And so she has them, and the process of all of that. And the second time I watched it, I watched it with two other gay men around my age, two good friends of mine, who are single. And it speaks really powerfully to single people and what it's like to be single. And so I encourage you to watch that on Hulu, because we're going to be having a conversation with Leah probably in a few weeks. I'll put it up when I have a less timely I have a lot of timely episodes that are tied to certain projects, and this has a little more flexibility. But she is a powerhouse person. Like, I was so impressed with her talent, her hard work, her insight. And there's something about her movie that's very wise. And this conversation, she was very wise. I loved it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So watch Scrambled. And I have to go back and watch her previous movie. I think it's called MFA. It's like a horror movie, and she also she's one of the writers of I Know What You Did Last Summer, the reboot, remake, requel. And I think it has a special word, but it's coming out this summer. So she's a horror gal as well. So super fun. I love that conversation. I can't wait to share it with you all. So that's where we're at. So we're all on this project together. Will he make it? Like, will I make it to the end of the AIDS ride? Which is actually not that. It's just, can I, stay in LA, I guess, and not have to, sell my house and get a trailer somewhere. That's where we're at, kids. All right. Thank you for listening. We will catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.